Tapos, habang nagtuturo ako noon, syempre dapat basa-basahin ko yun. Binabasa-basa ko na siya. Binabasa-basa ko na. Ano ba? Yun. Kunin muna lahat o 2015. Tama ba?
So, we've learnt that music has long and short sounds. But I'm sure you're aware that music also has higher and lower sounds. The pitch of a note tells us how high or low that note is. We show pitch by using a stave, a group of 5 lines and 4 spaces. Notes can be written on any line or in any space. Here's what notes look like when they're on the lines. And here's what they look like when they're in the spaces in between the lines. If we want to draw a note on a line, we need to make sure that the line goes straight through the center of the note head, like an arrow going through a person's head. This is correct. These are wrong. Same goes for notes in the spaces. They sit in between 2 neighbouring lines, just touching them but never overlapping them. Again, this is a beautiful looking note. These, well, not so much. Basically, be neat when you're drawing notes, or else there will be much confusion. Now, on its own, the stave doesn't really mean anything. We need to add in a clef. The treble clef, or G-clef, is a big squiggly liney thing that tells us what each of the lines and spaces are called. High-pitched instruments use the treble clef, like the violin, the flute, or the right hand of the piano. The easiest way to figure out how to read the notes on the treble stave is to use 2 catchy rhymes. For notes that are on the lines, we need to use the rhyme Eddie's green boots don't fit. Notes in the spaces are easy, they just spell face. Okay, so let's figure out the pitch name of this note. It's on a line, so we should use the Eddie's green boots don't fit rhyme. Starting at the bottom line, we say Eddie's green boots don't fit. F for fit, so our note is called F. Super! Let's do another one. This time the note is in a space, so we should use the face rhyme. Again, starting at the bottom space we go F, A, and we don't need to go any further. Our note is an A. Easy! Last thing I want to show you before I go is how to draw the treble clef. It looks like a ridiculously complicated thing to draw, but it's actually quite easy. Starting on the second line, we curve up to meet the middle line and curve back down to touch the bottom line. We then go across, make a little loop, go straight through the middle here, and finish it all off with a little hook. Easy! Remember, the treble clef is also called the G-clef. That's because when we place it on the stave, it gives the name G to the line where the sign starts. One perfect looking treble clef done.
Hi, my name is Gina. I'd like to tell you all about the treble clef. Oh, here it comes now. Hey there, treble clef. Did you know that once upon a time, treble clef looked like a fancy letter G? That's right, G for Gina. Here's how it looked long, long ago. Treble clef, a fancy letter G. Use it for the high notes, way up in the sky notes. Treble clef, a fancy letter G. Okay, everybody, let's count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, look! There are the 5 lines of the music staff. Next, we're going to learn how to draw a treble clef. But you have to use your imagination. So close your eyes, yes, close your eyes, and imagine a big tree for climbing. Okay, open your eyes. Hey, there it is. When you draw a treble clef, imagine that you have climbed up to the top of the tree and you slide straight down on a big rope. Whee! Wow, that was fun. Let's go back to the top and try something different. Oh, we'll swing it to the right and we'll swing it to the left. Touch the ground and spin it all around. Yay! Look at that! We made a treble clef. Treble clef, a fancy letter G.
A keyboard has white keys and black keys. We've already learned how to read the white keys, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and so on. Today, let's tackle those black keys. So the black keys get their names from the white ones. This guy is called C sharp because it lies to the right of the white key, C. Similarly, this guy is called D sharp because it lies to the right of the white key, D. And then there's F sharp, G sharp, and A sharp, lying to the right of F, G, and A. Note how the sharp sign looks, and no, it is not a hashtag. Please don't call it that, you'll make it sad. Now this all seems pretty easy, right? But here's the bit where I really break your brain. This note to the left of D is called D flat. This guy to the left of E is called E flat. And then we have G flat, A flat, and B flat. Again, note how flat signs look. And wait a minute, D flat, E flat, G flat, A flat, B flat. Aren't they called C sharp, D sharp, F sharp, G sharp, and A sharp? What gives? So, like I said, black notes get their names from the white notes. If you're moving up in pitch, they'll be sharps. But if you're moving down in pitch, they'll be flats. Therefore, C sharp is the same sound as D flat. D sharp is the same sound as E flat, and so on. We call these enharmonic pairs, but you don't need to memorize that term just quite yet. When talking about sharps or flats, or writing them in English, they come after the letter. F sharp, G flat, and so on. When writing sharps and flats in music notation, however, the symbols always go before the note. Because, like, we read music left to right, and the performer needs to see in advance when awesomeness is about to happen. To correctly draw sharps and flats, pay attention to these areas. They must be placed on the same line or space as the note you want to sharpen or flatten. Like, here's a G. We can sharpen it, turn it into a G sharp, by placing the middle of the sharp sign on the G line, like so. This, or this, makes no sense. Don't do this. To flatten it, turn it into a G flat, we place the flat symbol in front of the note and on the line. The same idea for the spaces. Here's an A sharp, and here's an A flat. Now, last thing I want to point out is that you might have noticed that there is no E sharp or F flat, or indeed B sharp or C flat. Well, turns out there is. An E sharp is just F, an F flat is just E, a B sharp is just C, and a C flat is just B. We call these guys natural semitones, but that is a story for another day. Okay, so let's talk about sharps and flats some more, shall we? When a sharp sign or a flat sign is written in front of a note, we call it an accidental. Accidentals have special powers, in that they affect any note on the same line or space for the remainder of the bar. Like this bar looks like it only has one F sharp, right? But in fact it has two, here and here. because the accidental's power lasts for the duration of the bar. No need to write in a second accidental. This keeps things nice and clean. Question then, how many F sharps are in this bar? Answer, none. Why? Because the accidental in the previous bar has no power in this one. If we want to make this guy sharp, we have to write in another accidental. Okay, so follow-up question. How many sharps are in the bar now? Answer, 1. You might have said that this guy is also an F sharp. But remember, the accidental only has power over the line or space it is placed on, not over every possible F sharp. What do we do when we want to sharpen this guy? Yup, throw in another accidental. But like, even with all these rules, the music looks really cluttered and messy, and all it's really telling us is, hey, every time you see an F, please play an F sharp. Surely there's a neater way of indicating this, and it turns out there is. To explain, every piece of music uses the notes of a scale. This piece uses notes found in the C major scale. So we say that the piece is in the key of C major. This tune uses notes found in the G major scale, so we say it's in the key of G major. Whatever scale a piece takes its notes from will be our key. Anyways, we can write the scale of G major in two ways, like this, or this. In the last example, I've pulled out the accidental and put it at the beginning of the tune. Similarly, we can write a tune in the key of G major in two ways, like this, or this. I've done the same thing again. I've pulled out all the F sharps and condensed them into a single F sharp at the beginning of the tune. This master accidental, if you will, is called a key signature. Key signatures are always placed between the clef and the time signature, and they tell us two very important things: the key of the piece and what sharps or flats to play. The key is easy. Just look at the key signature and try to figure out what scale has the same accidentals as is shown in the key signature. Like before, find the scale and you find the key. In this case, we're in the key of G major because the scale of G major contains a single sharp, and that sharp is F sharp. Having the F sharp at the beginning also tells us that every time we see F, unless otherwise indicated, we should play an F sharp instead. And this works for other keys too. The key signature of this tune is empty, so there are no sharps or flats in this tune. What scale has no sharps or flats? C major. So we're in the key of C major. And there you have it. Accidentals, keys, and key signatures done.
Interval means the distance between two notes. So there are two types of intervals: melodic intervals and harmonic intervals. The word melodic makes you think of melody. When you sing a melody, you sing horizontally. So we call the distance between two notes next to each other melodic interval. For harmonic intervals, the two notes are stacked on top of each other. We use terms like meter or kilometer to distinguish the distance when we are running or driving. However, in music, we use something like first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth. Looking at the numbers here, only the first three numbers are written differently based on the way they are pronounced. For a third, we write a number 3 and followed by RD. The word second is written with ND at the back, and the word first is written with ST at the back.
whereas the rest of the number from 4th to 8th are the same, which are followed by the letters TH. Counting intervals is like reading notes. For intervals counting, we always count from the lower note to the higher note. The bottom note here is a space note, so we start counting from this particular space and then followed by the next line, then to space all the way to the next line note. Let's begin counting. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the intervals between these two notes is a fourth. What about the next one? Remember, always count from the lower note. 1, 2. And we have a second over here. Let's do one more example for melodic intervals. Counting from the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's a fifth. Now, looking at some examples for harmonic intervals. So can you tell what is the intervals between these two notes? 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a fourth. And what about these two notes? 1, 2. Oh yeah, it's the second over here. One last example for harmonic intervals, counting from the bottom note. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there you go, a fifth. That's all for intervals. Always keep in mind the two types of intervals, which are melodic intervals and harmonic intervals. Also, the numbers which we use to indicate them. And lastly, always count from the lower note.